I woke up in the hospital with a bunch of friends and family surrounding me, and I said, "What's going on?" And they said, "Well, you guys were out water skiing, and you finished a ski run, and you died." I said, "No, I didn't." And they said, "Yeah, you did." So they told me the story.
One of the girls on the boat calls and says, "Oh, Sally passed out. We're taking her to the hospital." I thought, that's strange. But okay, so I'm on my way. I didn't realize how severe this was.
But the last thing I remember prior to that was getting the boat ready to go with some friends.
I get to the hospital. I beat her to the hospital. I walk into the emergency room, and the woman at the front desk, and she says, "Your wife's on her way here. Her heart stopped, and they defibrillated her 3 times. She has a sinus rhythm. She's alive. I can let you back into the emergency room while they're working on her, but you have to promise me that you can keep it together." So I still don't know a lot of the detail at this point. And they bring her in on a stretcher. She's got all kinds of tubes and wires. There's just so many nurses and doctors. I'm staying back, and I'm simply on my knees, literally. I asked God. I said, I don't want you to take her, but if it's your will, help me figure that out. We started to put the pieces together, and you understood all the other miracles that took place for the big one to happen. We weren't supposed to be in St. Louis, but we were. And 3 women started the day on that boat, and that's how the day was going to go. It was just 3 of them getting the boat ready and going out and enjoying some time on the lake.
Grant was driving the boat when I was skiing. I was the last skier. After I was done skiing, I threw the rope like always.
And she fully submerged into the water. She died. Nobody knew it. Boat pulls around, they see her listing. Grant dives in, fishes her out of the water, gets her on the back of the deck. They get her up on the back of the boat, and he starts CPR. Caitlin helps. And Kathy, who's a great boat driver, is speeding across the lake. So Grant and Caitlin are working on the back of the boat, without any regard for their own safety. Renee is helping out. They call 911. There's the police officer is waiting on the docks over at Windjammer. And Kathy basically does a hockey stop into the docks. She's helping to get Sally off the boat. When she does the hockey stop, though, Grant and Caitlin, who are doing CPR on the back, are kind of thrown off the back of the boat. And they're swimming back quickly, and Grant's a pretty good swimmer. And he got onto the boat very quickly and started to help Kathy carry Sally off the boat and get her onto the dock. Well, nobody saw it, but they didn't tie up, and the boat was drifting away from the dock. And Kathy's foot is in midair, and it's about to go down, and she thinks it's going to go on the dock, and she sees, and it's just water there. And all of a sudden, Caitlin, who was a little bit behind, saw what was going on. She pushes the boat back, and Kathy's foot hits the dock instead of the water. If she falls into the water, Sally goes in with her. They have to fish her out. They've lost all the positive efforts of the CPR. The story ends differently if that happens. If you look at it, you think, well, why'd she do a hockey stop into it? But Caitlin being thrown off saved that moment and kept that rhythm going so that she could be saved. I don't know how else to explain those things, but how many lakes have a hospital on them 400 yards away from the dock?
Doctors were coming in and out of the room. Somehow they had found out that I was an airline pilot. They told me right away I was never going to fly again. And I said, I don't. They said, you're going to have a defibrillator. I said, I don't need a defibrillator. So they surgically implanted a defibrillator. That was 1.5 years ago.
It was kind of a blur. I was kind of, dizzy through the whole thing, but the doctor talked to me for a little bit, and he said, I think she's fine. She's going to be okay. He gave me some optimism. We want to find out what happened, so they sent her upstairs for cardiac catheterization. I did a CAT scan. There was no embolism or stroke or anything like that, and we had some assurance that she was going to be okay. We started feeling good about it. They said that the oxygen deprivation, even though she had CPR immediately, was going to cause some memory loss. The doctors say that the odds of surviving sudden cardiac arrest are very, very small. Those that do survive it typically have profound physical and or mental challenges.
Every time we got to thank them, because I'm not sure people always survive, they went and got the machine that they had used, and they pulled the tape. They did CCR for 19 minutes, and the boat, we calculated the boat ride in probably took 4 or 5. So it was, I guess I was dead for 23, 24 minutes. And it was the third paddle attempt that restarted my heart.
You know, I used to be an atheist, and I've been a believer for 14 years now. And part of my struggle was really understanding, believing in miracles in creation, because I just thought it was all explainable. You know, I did a lot of soul search and research and came to faith years ago. But seeing this firsthand brought it to a different level. So we got to celebrate a second chance together, you know, as a couple and as a family.
I had always been busy anyway with traveling for a living, and I was a single parent for, I guess, about 15 years. It had just always been my life. I'd always been busy in my family of origin. I was the youngest of 5 kids, and my dad had died really tragically when I was 4. My mom had 5 kids between the age of 4 and 12 that she had raised by herself. So it was kind of a chaos growing up, and I had to be really independent. And so it just was kind of the story of my life. Even when Tim and I got married, he has 2 sons, I have 2 sons, and they were all at ages where it was pretty busy. As our married years progressed, he ended up with a job in Kansas City, and I ended up based in Dallas. So I was commuting to Dallas to go to work. He was commuting to Kansas City. We would spend maybe 2 days a week together. And after about 2.5 years of marriage, he said, you know, I wonder if this schedule is working for us. It seems really, you know, stressful, and we don't get to see each other very much. And in my mind, I thought our jobs were God's provision. To Tim, I said, well, let's give it a little longer. About 6 months later, this happened. And recently, Tim got to move back to St. Louis to work. I actually get to see him every day. Last summer, I got to be there for one of our son's weddings. It's been such a sweet kind of moment in my life where I got to actually be home every day. I never take it for granted. I was gone so much for so long that I just, you know, appreciate every day. Since I didn't have a dad, and since I was so independent, kind of had to be so independent growing up, that affected my relationship, I think, with everybody, but it certainly affected my relationship with the Lord. Through this process, I came to understand, I know this sounds kind of corny, but I felt like he spoke to me, and he said, I am enough. I came to find out that it's really just him and us that makes us have value, and that he really does love us where we are. We can't do anything to earn it at all. It's not us, it's him in us. That became really clear to me.
I've always seen her as a gift, and knew that she, you know, that our relationship is a result of the Lord. I don't think I took it for granted, but I certainly don't today. And I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have her. She has been such an incredible blessing, and such a blessing for all of our children. And there'd be such a hole in the world if we lost her. I'm in for whatever he has in store. I know his plan is good. So I wasn't before, but it's a different thing now.